turned, and we all mourn the loss of $4.5 million for Shador Sanders. Let's everyone take a moment of silence for this travesty that happened to this young man. No, of course not. He deserved to go fifth round. Quite frankly, I believe I even tweeted that, hey, maybe we should select him as Mr. Irrelevant. That would be fine. But I don't want to talk about Shador. I want to talk about Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper flat out embarrassed himself this weekend. Flat out made himself look like the retard that we all knew he was for years. And I don't know if it's just the hair follicles being pulled back too tightly. I don't know if it's his glasses, they're too tight around his head and his cranium just ain't thinking right. But he embarrassed himself on national television. And you know what ESPN's going to do about it? Nothing. Because Mel Kiper Jr. fits the mold of those who work at ESPN. Absolute morons. Outside of Reese Davis, who was the one that put Mel's hair plugs back in line. But Mel Kiper spent the whole weekend trashing the entire NFL system, and especially quarterback evaluators for not knowing how to evaluate quarterbacks, which is just utter and complete nonsense. Go ahead, look at the list of quarterbacks in the NFL today, count them up, the number of first rounders that are still playing in the NFL today. But Mel Kiper, in his narrative, all it does is spew a false narrative of just how people who are NFL execs, mind you, are doing their job. Mel Kiper sits there and yells and screams. He's old man screaming at clouds, blaming the narrative, making up stuff, blaming the NFL for being racist, for not selecting Shador first overall over Cam Ward, which is just absolutely asinine. And congratulations to Cam, by the way. Something ESPN never even did through the 3 days that they covered the draft. But Mel Kiper blaming the system or the NFL or what have you, whatever. It's like a fat man blaming the seats on the airplane for being too small. No, you're too fat. Lose weight. Mel, you're an idiot. Just stop. Quit. But I know you won't because ESPN's probably going to give you more money, just like they give that other bloviating idiot, Stephen A. Smith, to sit down on air and to spout bull crap at obscene volumes just because, hey, he makes our ratings go up. Well, there you go, ESPN. You got what you paid for. Guys, we're going to talk about the draft, playoffs, MLB. We got lots to dig into. This is Box Scores and Bourbon. All right, my man. Let's cheers ourselves in. Cheers.
Cheers, JB. We need a drum set round thing. Boom, 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 to kick off our episodes every time because we're excited to be here and we need that hype moment before we start talking about all the sports talk that we're about to have for the next hour of our viewers' time.
We could do the drum solo in the air tonight, the Phil Collins song.
Mm-hmm.
So we can that could be the intro.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
one. That's what I
That could
envision
be
every
it.
time I go. Do. But anyways, I deviate from our topic, which is Mel Kiper's rant, his little meltdown that he had. What was it? End of day two, when he was calling everyone but himself a complete idiot and a moron for
Yeah.
not the NFL not knowing how to scout players. I
Yeah.
wish the follow up would have been one of his fellow uh, commentators or analysts that were sitting there, bringing up his grade sheet from all the players and all the QBs that he's graded as first round draft picks,
It
and then
won't.
just said, "Well, what happened to all these all-star A+ ratings for the draft that you said were going to be great?" I bet you Jamar Russell was going to be was an A+ rated quarterback on Mel
I know
Kiper's
Jamarcus
draft.
Russell was. I know for a fact Jimmy Clausen was. Because he's infamous
Pretty
for saying
sure.
if Jimmy Clausen doesn't make it in the NFL, I'm not going to do this anymore. Well, Jimmy Clausen's long gone, and I still have to hear you.
And I'm pretty sure, even more recently, Zach Wilson was his number one quarterback for a while for that draft, and here we are with Zach
Yeah.
Wilson rocking the number 0 for the Miami
Yeah.
Dolphins.
Yeah.
But yeah, the draft came and went. There was some did you there was some surprises as far as teams approaches, as far as players movement. I guess you could say the Sanders uh free fall into the fifth round was a surprise for some people, but I mean, you did call the fact that in your eyes he wasn't a first or a second round draft pick when we were doing our mock
Hmm.
draft. So I'll give you kudos for that. But besides that, I didn't really think as I was looking at these picks go, I didn't really think a lot of these players really were surprises as far as like reaches or that other players were fell or that certain teams took certain players. It all kind of almost seemed to fall in line a little bit how we expected it, but like I
Yeah.
said, the surprises came with what the teams decided, how the teams decided to approach overall their draft boards. I think that was more of an interesting conversation to be analyzed than individual
Yeah.
players.
Hmm. Yeah. There were no superstars in this draft. It was real easy for uh, it to get lost in the whole, the prime picks,
Yeah.
Travis Hunter,
Yep.
Jacksonville trading up to go get him, which is just, you know what? Hey, that's why they're the Jaguars. And and then the whole Shador thing. And look, Shador got his wish. He went in every interview and said that, hey, if you're not going to change the culture, then don't take me. Well, welcome to Cleveland, son, where there is
Where
no
the
culture
culture
and you are free to act a fool as much as you'd like. So the,
for
the,
better or for worse, teams decided that you know what, you're right. We don't want to change our culture. Whether that's the good approach for them or a bad approach, the
yeah,
one team that you can say their culture is a little bit all over the place is Cleveland. So it's almost fitting that
yeah,
that he went to Cleveland. Here's my thing about Sanders and the whole drafts narrative that has come around him uh, being dropping to the fifth round. At the end of the day, you got drafted. There's
mm-hmm,
so many players in the league that wish they could go in the league, and it's not about where you get drafted. It's the fact that you got drafted, whether it's for one reason or another. You got drafted in the fifth round, which a player that went undrafted could wish and desire that they got drafted in the fifth round. It's not about where you get drafted. It's about what you do once you make the lead. The draft is just a guarantee that you're going to be on a team come Monday morning. That's it. That's all it
yeah,
dictates. You're
yep,
not set in stone as far as this is my career now because I was drafted fifth overall. Like you're not set up for a failure. You can sit down and analyze all the quarterbacks that go after day three or whatever and see that maybe there's not a lot of potential. But at the end of the day, each quarterback does their own narrative when it comes down to the actual play that they do.
yeah,
The only thing that you can say about Sanders being drafted in the fifth round is first round comes with $4 or $5 million more. But if we see Sanders's Instagram story and his TikTok or whatever or his social media preferences, he flaunts his money anyways. So I don't think $4 or $5 million from the Sanders family is really that much that is going to make or break them. I think they have more than enough money. So that's really the only
yeah,
the prestige of saying you're a first round draft pick and the money that comes with it. And for the Sanders family, I don't think $5 million is really going to be like the
yeah,
demise of your family that has Dion that signed a massive contract with Colorado just a few months ago.
yeah,
It's I'm That's the part that bugs me about it. Like you're in the league. Go show if
yeah.
you're that upset, go show teams why they should have drafted you. It's that simple.
Yeah, and I don't know how much money he's going to lose out on. Everyone's crying about this, but look.
Should have stayed in
You're
college.
right. He's in the league now. He has a chance to prove himself. I know
Mm-hmm.
he's not used to that. I know he's not used to having to to stand out above everybody else because Dion's been next to his side the whole time, and he's gotten pretty much everything he's ever wanted. And so, which by the way, never draft a man who nicknames himself. He nicknamed himself Legendary. So you should never trust a man with two first names or three first names, and you should never ever draft or be associated with someone who gives themselves their own nickname. That's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he's in the league. He has a chance to prove himself. But I want to transition to. I want to ask a question to you first.
Hit me.
Which team would you say, according to Manny, had the best draft?
The best draft. Let's start with best, go to worst. Is that how we're
Mm-hmm.
doing this?
Yeah.
I may have a surprise surprise best one for you. The team that I feel had the best draft, I'm gonna go with the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
The Atlanta Falcons had three, four, five picks,
Mm-hmm.
and four of those were on the defensive side. They
Yeah.
drafted in the first round Jalen Walker out of Georgia, the
Mm-hmm.
linebacker out of Georgia. And like we sat here and said for during our mock draft, you can't go wrong when you draft a Georgia defensive player. You're pretty your head coaching career is probably pretty safe. Your GM probably looks like a smart man for drafting a Georgia player, and Jalen Walker's not like a snub Georgia player. He was dominant in Georgia, so like, they addressed a good position there. And then they followed that up by drafting a defensive end out of Tennessee. And notice a trend with these players that they drafted. A lot of these colleges or the schools that they were with, they were in the playoffs, and they had
Yeah.
good defenses. Their defenses tended to carry them. So they drafted Jalen Walker from Georgia. They drafted James Pierce, the defensive end out of Tennessee, at the end of the first round. And I believe in our mock draft we had Pierce going way higher. So I think
Yeah.
them being to get him at 26 was a really good pick for them. And
Yeah.
again, another defensive end, another playmaker that's going to help that defense. Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame, what carried Notre Dame to their championship appearance? Their defense was one of the biggest factors. And there you go again, another defensive
Yeah.
player. Fourth round out of Oklahoma. Okay, you can say that maybe that's more of a reach as far as marquee name, or that team really didn't have much going on for them, but still a solid pickup for Billy Bowman
Yeah.
to be the safety out of Oklahoma. And then the seventh round they wrapped up by taking a tackle, which is always a safe bet when you're drafting the players. If you want to make sure that you're taking a safe pick, you take a tackle or an offensive lineman. My thing is, all last year throughout the season, we talked about how the Falcons had all these key pieces on the offensive side. They have all these players. They drafted a quarterback in Penix last year that they was supposed to be. He's supposed to be the starter
Mhm.
going this year, and we kept saying the reason that the Falcons are not showing their true colors because they're missing pieces on the defensive side, and they
Yeah.
95% or 80% of their draft picks went to address the needs that they obviously
Mhm.
had, and everybody could see. They
Yeah.
drafted defensive players that came from marquee schools and had a dominant impact with those schools. So I think they did a really good job at addressing their needs in a really professional manner.
Yeah. I I had Atlanta high on my list, as hard as it is for me to say that
Mhm.
without throwing up my mouth. But I have another one, just to keep it
I'm curious.
interesting. I had Carolina. Sorry, the Carolina.
Whoa, the
Sorry,
hiccup attack.
the Carolina Panthers. No, I was throwing up in my mouth. The Carolina Panthers, I thought had a really, really good draft. So
Yeah.
I mentioned a couple weeks ago that out of the 10 teams, out of the top 10 offensive lines in the NFL last season, 9 of them made the playoffs. Number
Hmm.
8, Carolina Panthers. They had a top 10 O line. So what did they do in this draft? They didn't touch the O line. They went and they got pieces for Bryce to throw to.
Hmm.
They shored up that defense, which is very Dan Morgan like. And there were 3 players I loved in this draft. I loved, 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 and only one of them didn't get picked in the first round, but early in the second round. You mentioned the first one, James Pierce. I love James Pierce. I think he's going to be an absolute beast in the NFL. If he can stay healthy, he's such a wild card, but he can absolutely wreak havoc on the defensive side of the ball. Number 2 on that was Tet McMillan. I think Tet McMillan is going to prove to be a surefire number 1 receiver by the time this season's up. I said the same thing last season about Brian Thomas Jr. And look, I'm not wrong. Brian Thomas Jr. was one of the revelations in the NFL last season as a rookie, and he did great things for Jacksonville. And not much to talk about in Jacksonville other than how bad Trevor Lawrence is. But now that Bryce Young has pieces to throw to, and they also have a running back, they got Trevor Etienne. They
Yeah.
went to Georgia. They went and got their man, bringing him in the backfield. Pair him with Chuba Hubbard, and then boom, done. That's a great 1-2 punch right there. That's some thunder and lightning right there.
Yep.
But the One pick I love the most. Well, there's two. I like Nick Scorton going in the second round. I knew you were high on him. Nick Scorton going in the second round, the edge rusher out of A&M.
Yep.
They went and they got him. He's absolutely going to be a game changer on that front, up in that front seven on the defensive side. But Lathan Ransom, they got him in the fourth round. They
Yep.
traded up with Denver to get him in the fourth round. And I absolutely love this pick because if you watch Ohio State, a lot was talked about Will Howard and in that offense and just being able to just throttle teams and put points on the board. But that defense, I still think was just tragically underrated, especially throughout the entire playoff process. Everyone looked at Ohio State and said, "Oh, it's just a matter of time for them to break down." Not that defense. And Lathan
Mhm.
Ransom, he was just he made some incredible plays last season, and he's going to be able to shore up that deep part of the secondary for Carolina, and it's going to be really fun to watch. Again, I hate to say it, it's going to be really fun to watch Carolina this season, and because and this brings me to my worst draft, my New Orleans Saints. I hated, I hated, I absolutely hated the draft. Now I
Would
got
they
no problem.
would it have been a better team overall draft if they had taken Sanders 9 overall, like I said?
No, no, no. And the longer it took for Shador to get drafted, I'm like, man, my
The
heart
happier you
isn't
were.
beating. But I got no problem with the Tyler Shelf pick. I don't. I think he can actually be a decent quarterback. And look, Mickey Loomis has had three head coaches in New Orleans.
Hmm.
He's had Sean Payton. Who did he want? They went and got Drew Brees. Dennis Allen. Who did he want? He went out and got Derek Carr. Now it's
Hmm.
Kellen Moore's turn. Kellen Moore obviously likes what he sees in Tyler Shubb. Got no problem with it. My issue is that and all off season there were three areas where I have constantly said the Saints need work in. It is in the secondary. Boom.
Hmm.
And went ahead and kind of solved that with the Jonas Sonker pick. Okay, great. And then they went and got Quincy Riley, I think, from Louisville. Yeah, and so they went and they shored up the secondary. They needed O line help badly, and they went and got Kelvin Banks. A lot of people think that was a reach, but okay, whatever. And then it wouldn't have helped to get some help in that front seven. And they went and got Vernon Broughton. They got Danny Stutzman, which I am super excited about. Out of this entire draft, he was my lone favorite pick of the entire draft was Danny Stutzman. I love it. I absolutely love the pick. The dude was underrated in Oklahoma. That dude is absolutely going to punish people in the NFL, and I can't wait to see it happen against Atlanta and Carolina. And then they went and got Fidel Diggs from Syracuse with their last pick, edge rusher out of there. Not bad. The one area where they did not address outside of grabbing a tight end in the seventh round was the receiving core. I don't know how you can go into this draft and say, oh, Chris Olave, oh, we can guarantee he's going to be healthy. Oh, Brandon Cooks, we can guarantee he's not lost a step. It's not. Jawan Johnson, I believe, if I'm wrong, led the league. Not led the league. Excuse me, led the team in yards last year, and this dude's a converted tight end. So I wish they would have done more. But then part of me also looks at it as, and like a lot of these drafts, which is why it's hard to say who has winners and losers in this one, because like I said at the top, there were no superstars. This was not a draft with stars in it. It just wasn't. So this was going in, picking a need or picking best available. And if it
Hmm.
meshed, great, do that. And I got, like I said, no problem with the Kelvin Banks pick, but this dude, a guard in college, and they're already talking about playing him at tackle. Why? Why? I know they stand next to each other, okay? But I'm not gonna put my milk in the oven, okay? Even though it's right there. Just like it's two different things. So I walked away from the Saints very disheartened, and it broke my heart even more that I had to sit there and say, "Wow, Atlanta, fantastic! Wow, Carolina, great job." It's just it absolutely just it is not a good feeling. It's not.
Yeah, as I was listening to you talk about your Saints, I really thought you were talking yourself into really liking their draft picks. It seems like you'd like their draft picks. They just missed on a couple of players, or they didn't address
They
a certain
missed
need.
on. I think they got good players,
Mm-hmm.
but they missed on opportunities to go grab certain guys to help other areas of the team. So that's really, and then waiting so long to address the secondary. At the end of day two,
Yeah.
that's when you're going to address the secondary. I get Will Johnson had injury concerns, but go grab the kid. Go grab him. He's still NFL worthy. He can still change your secondary.
Yeah. No, I get where you're coming from. It seems like they started off strong. They picked up some good players early on, and then kind of just the almost like they treated it like Madden. If anybody uh,
Yeah,
that is watching plays Madden, if you're doing a franchise, you care about the draft and you try on the first two rounds, and you're like, whatever, auto sim. It seems like that was a lot of that going on at the Saints. Like they're like, oh, we wanted a
yeah,
couple players, and now we're good. Whatever
yeah,
falls to us, falls to us. That
yeah.
seems to be like
Which is
what the
so
Saints
weird
approach.
for this team too, because the Saints, Mickey Loomis especially historically, has traded up to go get certain guys. And certain guys, yeah, I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't really understand that one. Okay, whatever. But um it just and they were moving and shaking in day 3. They were, I mean, they were making trading and coming
Hmm.
up and everything, but I just yeah, it's just it was not the draft that I, as a Saints fan, would have liked to have seen. And it was real
Hmm.
easy to sit here, like you said, they got some nice pieces. These are nice pieces to have, but I don't think they addressed the needs appropriately.
Sure, but I mean, my devil's advocate. 2 minutes ago, you did say teams took the best player available. Maybe that was the approach they were going with based
And
off of their
maybe it
draft grade.
was, but I'm always need first, best player available second. I'm a needs first guy. What do I need? That's the best player available. What I need, I'm getting him.
Well, you are a very traditionalist, and you tend to pay your mortgage before you go out and have a date night, so that makes
I
sense.
know I'm a terrible
How dare
American.
you? How
Yeah,
dare you cover your bills before you go enjoy your
I
life?
know. Mm-hmm.
I will say this. I will say this. I'm concerned that you and I are spending too much camera time together because you said the Carolina Panthers were the draft team that you liked,
Mm-hmm.
and they were my second team on the team that I like what they did in the draft.
Yeah, I liked Atlanta one,
And you
Carolina
like,
two.
yeah.
You said Atlanta, so I went with Carolina.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're too much on the same. This
Mm-hmm.
podcast isn't going to work if we agree on everything. The whole premise is that we don't agree on things, and here we are agreeing on the two teams that had the best drafts, which are
Yeah.
bottom of the barrel teams as far as the league is concerned.
We need to have a not trust fall. Like we need to
Yeah.
fall, and then no one catches us.
Yeah.
So
Let me round this whole like good draft, bad draft conversation up by saying who I think had the worst draft as
mhm.
far as team needs are. And to no surprise, I am going to go with the Cleveland Browns as the team that had the worst draft overall. First, I know JB has sat here since mock draft, this episode, and even episodes before, and bashed Travis Hunter as a good of a player as he was hyped up to be. What is going on right now? Travis Hunter is not a JB favorite player. I disagree. And I thought the Cleveland Browns lost a really good opportunity to take a good player, if not because he was going to be a one side of the ball player that was pretty well rounded. At the very least, the player that drafted him was going to get a well rounded player on one side of the ball. If you happen to play it on both sides of the ball, and you got a two-way player, that seems like a win because it's not doesn't happen that often. they passed up on that. And not only that, they also passed up on the opportunity to have a face of the franchise for a franchise that is dying to have a face of the franchise. So they traded away that pick. I didn't really like that they traded away the opportunity to draft Travis Hunter, and I know JB is disagreeing with me on this take, but I do like Travis Hunter. I do think he's going to be a good player in the league. They ended up trading back with the Jaguars, and they took Mason Graham, which okay, he's a defensive tackle from Michigan. He was pretty good. I think they could have even got a little bit more for the Travis Hunter pick and takes a different player, but that's neither here nor there. My point, or my main concern with the Cleveland Browns, is their quarterback room. Dylan Gabriel was the first quarterback that they drafted out of this year. That was after signing Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett as their quarterbacks this year. And by the way, they have Deshaun Watson still on their roster, which, whatever. But they signed Dylan Gabriel, and then they went and drafted Shador Sanders. No disrespect to Dylan Gabriel. I sat here during the Oregon's playoff push and said Dylan Gabriel was a really good player. And I just 20 minutes ago I said Shador Sanders maybe deserved to fall. At the end of the day, I still think Shador is a better football player than Dylan Gabriel. And now that they have 4 or 5 quarterbacks in their quarterback room, it just makes no sense that you would take that approach. There's some rumors that the Shador Sanders pick was forced by the owner because the owner knows Deion Sanders. Maybe, but at the end of the day, you still wasted 2 picks on a position that you have 5 players for now. If the owner was gonna force the quarterback situation to be drafted, don't draft Dylan Gabriel. Mm-hmm. Don't waste a draft pick on that. But at the end of the day, this is the Cleveland Browns. They always make the most inopportune decisions that make zero sense for their organization. And drafting 2 rookie quarterbacks that are somehow going to hash it out after signing a 40-year-old Joe Flacco and a Pickett, like, it makes no sense to me. It just seems like they were wasting their picks, and then they were just wasting their picks this year so they can stockpile up next year for maybe they're going to push for Arch Manning in next year's draft and have 6 quarterbacks in the last 2 years on their roster. Maybe that's what they're going for. But ultimately, their draft just didn't make sense because you draft 1 rookie, especially that late. You draft 1 rookie quarterback and you develop him, or you draft him because you really think he's going to be a starter. Who is on the outside looking in? Who is the one that didn't make the cut on the club VIP list right now? Dylan Gabriel or Sanders? You're not gonna carry 5 quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. You're not gonna carry 4 quarterbacks. One of those players is set up for failure as of right now because we know that the quarterback room is going to be 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks, and one of those 2 guys is going to have to go. And it just makes no sense that with knowing that, you still wasted a pick to get him. I'm just not very satisfied with what they did.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense to me either, and especially makes even less sense when every mock draft I've seen. So there's been 5 mock drafts I've seen come out for 2026, and every single one of them's got Cleveland drafting quarterback. Why? I thought they solved the problem. I thought they drafted the greatest talent this side of John Elway, according to Mel Kiper. Like, it's like it makes zero sense to me. Mm-hmm. It does it and nothing against Dylan Gabriel. I mean, he was in college for 38 years, so I mean, he's got plenty of experience. But there's no way they brought Shador in thinking that they're going to use him as sort of like this Gidget. Like, mm-hmm. He's not going to agree to be some sort of an offensive tool. Like, no. He wants to be quarterback, mm-hmm. and that's it. I believe if you gave this kid a spelling test, he's never seen the word humility. He doesn't even know what it is. So he is not going to back down. He's not. And save me, just lose my number, as the kids say, on all of these videos of Shador working out on a grassy knoll, like he's Lee Harvey Oswald, and then talking to children at a Cleveland inner city school. Just shut up. Just shut up. Just because he's manufactured these these moments where he looks humble doesn't mean he's humble.
Mm-mm.
This dude is a brand. He's smart. He knows how to brand himself. He is branding himself as humble. Just wait until we get to OTAs. Wait till minicamp. Wait till you see the player on the field with the other four quarterbacks. Three if Deshaun's done with his appointment at the massage parlor. But just give it some time, and then you let me know whether or not Shador is actually a humble guy. Until then, I don't want to hear it. I don't
Right.
want to hear it.
And ultimately, this seems like a conversation about Deion Sanders, but at the end of the day, I mean, he's still an NFL quarterback because he's going to probably make millions of dollars. I still feel bad for Dylan Gabriel because he got drafted, and I'm sure that was a great moment for him. But then Shador got drafted right behind him, and now the moment's taken away from him, and you're like wondering, you got drafted before him, but now there's questions: are you even gonna make the roster at this point? And it sucks because he should have had the opportunity as a young rookie to really get that job if he was going to be that good of a quarterback. And now all that's out the window because now we're talking about an entertainment factor of the Cleveland Browns, and it just makes no
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. So all right, so let's end the conversation by briefly 30 seconds sharing uh, the best individual pick, the
Okay.
one player, the one system, the one team that drafted him, which one we like the most.
Okay.
You go first.
As much as it pains me to say this, the one player that I like uh, as far as value for where he was taken and the team that he was going to is Cameron Scadaboo going to the New York Giants. I know I don't really hype up the Giants. They haven't won the division in what 15, 20 years. But Cameron Scadaboo out of Arizona, we saw what he did
Hmm.
for that team last year. He literally put the Arizona State football team on his back and made that game competitive for them in the playoffs. They ended up losing, sure, but at the end of the same, we saw the drive and the willpower that he has as a running back to really carry a team on his back. I'm not saying he's the second coming of Saquon by any means for the Giants, but we know that he's a good running back. And with Russell Wilson potentially penciled in as a starting quarterback. If you remember when Russell Wilson had the best success is when he had a workload, uh, a, like could carry the workload running back in the system, like with Lynch in Seattle. Scadaboo can do the same thing for the Giants right now. So I think that was going to be a really good pairing within Russell Wilson and Cameron Scadaboo in that system for a team that's kind of trying to find its way. And for them to get him in the fourth, fifth round seems like a really good opportunity for him to be successful. I really thought he deserved to be drafted higher at the end of the day.
Yeah. Mine, Nick Emenwari. He was the third guy that I was really high on this draft, and I thought he deserved to be drafted in the first round. Seattle trading up to go grab him. I think it's a great pick. Mike McDonald, who was formerly with Baltimore, this to him, this is a Kyle Hamilton rebirth. Like this is the reincarnation of a man who is still living. So, but for Mike McDonald, Nick Emenwari is going to be a dream, and there's a lot of talk about his potential, about what he can do even just outside the safety position. All this talk started when he was at South Carolina, but it's he is going to be something special for this team, and I have no doubts that if there's anybody who's going to be able to kind of drive out that potential that Emin has, it's a guy like Mike McDonald.
Yeah, I like that pick too. I think for the value that a position like the running back carries, I liked the Scatterboo Giants pick a little bit more.
Yeah. All right. Let's transition to the NBA
The other
playoffs.
football? Oh no,
Huh?
oh no, we're not talking soccer. We're talking basketball, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're not doing ballerina ball. Let's transition to uh, to the NBA playoffs, otherwise known as LeBron's kryptonite, and let's break down the first round of the NBA playoffs. Um,
Yes.
Manny, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts have been so far in this first round, because I have my own thoughts and I
Mm-hmm.
have logistical thoughts about
Mm-hmm.
the first round as a whole. But I'd like to hear your take on it so far.
I have two things that have pissed me off about the playoffs, and it's not that LeBron James got all the attention just to be get the gentleman's sweep out of Minnesota. Two things that upset me. One, Oklahoma City Thunder swept the Grizzlies, and it's like just like a yawn fest as far as how much attention that team got for sweeping the Memphis Grizzlies. I understand that the expectation was that Oklahoma City should win that series, but a sweep in the manner that they did it, like a dominant performance, deserved some media attention. And it was just like you turned on the TV, you watched the sports channel, and all you saw was, oh, OKC swept the Memphis Grizzlies. Moving on to the Lakers, where there's still a chance that they probably could make the finals if they steal the next 4 games. Like that, just OKC looks so dominant. JB, you and I have been talking about how good they looked, and we thought that the development and the experience from the playoffs last year and how the first round exit was really going to give them that experience. They deserve to have that attention from them. Now
Yeah.
on the other side, I am upset about the Knicks and the Pistons game of series. Why? At the beginning of the playoffs, all I ever heard of was be careful for the Pistons because if the Pistons lose, watch out for the head coach getting fired from the Knicks because the Pistons have a good chance of uh, of upsetting the Knicks and there's going to be some turmoil in the head coaching position. Okay, that was before the playoffs. Knicks won game one, crickets. There was no conversation being had about that. And then the Pistons won game two, and all of a sudden it was again, watch out for the Pistons. They look dangerous. They might upset the Knicks, and they're going to come for the head coach's job again. And then the Knicks proceeded to win the next 2 games in a very impressive fashion, and there's crickets about the dominance, the great performance that the Knicks had, and then the Knicks or the Pistons stole game 5 yesterday. I think that's when game 5 happened, and here we go again. Pistons, watch out. Just be careful. If they go back home and they steal game 6, there's a potential that they can upset them in game 7. You are talking about a 7-8 seed upsetting a really good team that shows that they know how to play, and you keep giving them the benefit of the doubt when a team is up 3-1 and then 3-2. Is your brain rotted as far as like it's just like the preferential like favoritism, whatever you want to call it? The Pistons have to win 3 games in a row right now. Am I expecting it to happen? Maybe, but right now the game is playing and it seems like a pretty competitive game. But we're not giving the Knicks enough credit for what work they've done because at the end of the day they were up 3-1, and yet we're hearing about how if the Pistons steal another game, the Knicks are in danger of getting a whole new system in place because they're going to fire their head coach. It makes no sense to me that that is the narrative that keeps being built around the Knicks that are what, a 2 seed
Mm-hmm.
against the Pistons that are
A
probably the
three. Yeah,
equivalent of.
it's a three against a 6 seed.
There you go. So a 3 seed against the Pistons, which in my opinion are the equivalent of OKC last year, where they're young, they have a good system, but they just lack the experience. And the record shows it, and the series record shows it. And yet, at the end of the day, we have the freaking pitchforks ready to go for whenever the Knicks supposedly are supposed to choke and lose this series. It makes no sense to me. Those are my two biggest takes from the first round so far. JB.
Yeah. The Lakers series. It is a shame, just to echo what you had talked about. You know, the juxtaposition between the coverage of OKC and the Lakers. It's pathetic that uh, we are as sports fans subject to outside of the NBA on TNT, where Charles Barkley just spits truth, no matter how idiotic it is sometimes. It is it's absolutely asinine that we're going to sit here and just continue to laud the Lakers when we everyone knows that even if the Lakers made it out of the first round, which to a lot of people that was on their bingo card. Lakers are going to win this in six, and
No.
but they are too small. They have no one at the five, no one, no one, and it doesn't it. What's that?
Go take it farther. Besides LeBron James and Luca, name a player that's on the starting five or on the roster of 15. Nobody knows. They don't
Well, the
have
one
depth.
that was working the hardest was Austin Reeves, but he can't stop turning the ball over. This
See?
entire series was the Lakers turning the ball over
Hmm.
constantly. And it's like you're not going to win that way. And if they had someone at the five, some not just you know Jackson Hayes and in the Finney Smith, but someone who's capable of boxing out people at the rim in order to grab a board, yeah, you probably had a chance, but they were so abysmal, so bad because they're all too busy trying to shoot threes. There's no one there. There's
Hmm.
literally no one in the paint. And
Hmm.
so except the poor soul that they stuck at center that night. That's the only one. And so and just watching this team and watching LeBron just cry constantly. And then when he had the flop of all flops the other night when he fell down and act like it was a head-on collision. Some guy on Twitter said I didn't fall down that hard when both my legs were blown off. So like he falling on the floor, the game's still going on. The refs don't care. His teammates don't care. And then yeah, just like this, he gets up like my 7-year old after throwing a tantrum and realizes, well, no one's paying attention to me. I should just get up now. Like it's just like imagine a world where LeBron James played with dignity. Imagine what kind of player he would be.
I can't.
Of course you can't because it's never happened. He's never played with dignity ever. The most dignified part about him is the bald spot on the top of his forehead because clearly he's like, I'm just going to age with grace here. But he is, but as far as his play goes, it's just absolutely asinine. And the fact that us as sports fans are subject to this nightly about LeBron, and then now the playoffs are still happening. And the first question is, Tyrese Halliburton's dad got into a fight with Giannis, and all we can talk about or hear about is LeBron going to play next season? What? The Pacers just put a whooping on a senior citizen home, and no one cares about the poor old people. Nobody. Like it's completely ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Well, I
Yeah.
just I can't stand it, and which leads me to this point. The first round of the NBA playoffs does not need to be 7 games. Hell, it probably doesn't even need to be 5 games. As long as yes, 3. As long as we're gonna have this dumbass play in, which is which is how you get Miami being completely embarrassed at home against Cleveland because they're not an 8 seed, they're a 10 seed who played up to an 8 seed.
Hmm.
If you're going to have a play in, the first round is 3 games. That's it. 3 games. Okay? 3. And you know what? We'd all be grateful for it too because LeBron can't get past one win in the playoffs. So it would work out just fine. So we need to scale this back. We need
Hmm.
to scale it back. I get it. You're trying to increase the competition within the NBA. You're trying to get people, the teams, the front offices excited about maybe adding some pieces. Well, guess what? There were teams who traded their star players at the deadline and they still made it. So, like, it obviously not working the way you want it to. So, in order to further incentivize teams in the play-in to actually buy in, make the first round of the playoffs a 3-game series. That's it. Best of 3. That's all you get. That's all you get.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the way that the records have gone, if you looked at like the game per game series, the Thunder would have won in three, of course. Uh, the Nuggets, which are on game six tonight, they would have won that series. Timberwolves would have been done long time ago.
Yeah.
The Warriors would have won that series. The Cavaliers, didn't have to waste their time with the Heat, and they probably don't really care that they played four instead of five instead of seven, whatever.
Yeah.
But the Celtics is the last team that kind of put a whooping on the Magic. But at the end of the day, the teams, if you looked after 3 games, the quote unquote the right teams would have won if it was a 3 game series. So I have to agree with you as far as the um, the 3 game change for the first round because it's just what is it? 10 teams technically make the playoffs if you count the play in.
20.
That's
20.
20,
20.
20 total, 10 per side. 20 out of 30 teams. That sounds even better. 20 out of 30 teams make the playoff in one shape or another. And we're here talking about how the first round has to go seven games for teams that have no business being in that
Hmm.
series, and the records show it. And uh, to piggyback on the point that you made about the Lakers, they were a 3 seed. A 3 seed got gentlemen swept by the Timberwolves, and that's not a it's a testament to the Timberwolves. Kudos to them, and I don't think they're getting enough credit for the way that they played that game. They played dominant game, and I don't feel at any point after game 2 anybody felt like the Lakers actually had a chance to win that series. But I deviate from my point being that the Lakers were a 3 seed, not deservingly. They were a 3 seed because it's a testament to the weakness of the Western Conference,
Yes.
not because it
Hmm.
shows a testament to the Lakers as an
Outside of
organization.
Oklahoma City, it may be Houston.
Maybe,
That
maybe Houston.
maybe Houston. The whole conference was bunched up.
Yeah, yeah. What was it? 3 days out, 3 games, 2 games out from the end of the regular season. Everybody could still flip flop between two
Yeah.
and seven. It
Yeah.
was That's not because it's a competitive conference. It's because everybody's subpar, mediocre, just above mediocre. It's not a testament to the Lakers. Again, it's not a testament to the Lakers being that good to be deserving a 3 seed. It's a
Yeah.
testament to the conference that is not competitive. And I'm not asking for a realignment of conference or playoff seedings or whatever. They take turns. The Eastern Conference was dominant for a while, and then the Western Conference was dominant for a while. But don't sit here and tell me the Lakers deserved a 3 seed because you just saw what the first round showed, and it was a team that was not deserving of a three
Hmm.
seed. And the Timberwolves very well deserved that matchup. I'm
Yeah.
glad that they got that matchup because they put a whooping to the Lakers. But at the end of the day, the Lakers somehow were supposed to have a pretty damn good path to the finals if they somehow found a way to beat the Timberwolves. And it was, in my opinion, I know fair doesn't exist in this world, but it wasn't going to be fair. The Western Conference wasn't going to be fair if we somehow the Lakers got an easy ride to the finals because that everything about those rankings were all mushed together in mud, and you're picking out the team that like, well, I guess you get the 3 seed because you won half a game more than the next people. It just made no sense to me. You're right about the Lakers, like they got way too much attention for where they were, and it goes to show that they didn't deserve all that attention, and it goes to show that the whole LeBron experiment with the Lakers it just keeps backfiring on the Lakers as a whole. I really don't like it.
Yeah. Well, let's transition real quick to the NHL because we still have MLB to talk about. Um, the only the NHL playoffs is absolutely just still way more competitive, I think, than the NBA playoffs are. Just
Mm-hmm.
because of the playoff structure as it is, there's no play-in game for the NHL. But so far, there's only one second round series that is set, and that is Carolina versus Washington.
Yep.
Um, uh, uh, the Caps were able to take care of La Canadiens 4-1. The Hurricanes took care of the Devils 4-1. And then the only upset was Florida over the Lightning. They took care of them 4-1 as well. And so,
Mm-hmm.
but this the round two could be set as early as tonight or tomorrow. I'm sorry. St. Louis and Winnipeg play tomorrow night. They play Game 6. Winnipeg is up by a game, and if St. Louis continues to play the way they played last game and the first 2 games of this series, then the games and then the series is set tomorrow. But right now, Florida's waiting to play the winner of Toronto and Ottawa, and
Hmm.
then like I said, the rest of that. There's no one. There is no one who is closed out in the Western Conference yet.
No.
So talk about, again, talking about
Competitive.
competition, Western Conference in the NHL, they're still, busting each other's teeth out to see who's going to make it to round two. Okay, MLB. Let's talk baseball. Okay,
Baseball, your favorite pastime. America's favorite
so
pastime.
I sat here, what was it? About probably a month ago after the
Yep.
season just started and the Braves
Hmm.
started out 1-8, 1-7. And I said, hey, Braves fans, don't be upset, okay? Take heart. The Braves will be all right. And what do you know? The Braves are all right. They're fine, okay? And I actually did a tweet. I was running the numbers between the Mets and the Braves. I was at the airport coming back from Utah this past weekend, and in the middle of enjoying a spirit before I got on the plane, because Delta's a bunch of a holes and they only offer it to first class. So I'm sitting there at the bar and I'm looking at stuff and I'm like, hey, everyone's raving about the Mets. How well are the Mets doing compared to the Braves? And the one thing that I noticed was that while the Braves played in April up until that week, up until before that Monday, this past Monday, the Braves had played all of Arizona, San Diego, and the Dodgers, and the Mets had yet to play even one NL West powerhouse. And and so one of the things that I looked at was that, but then also what's behind the Braves' surge in this. And you have Chris Sale and you have Michael Harris, who have figured out how to play baseball again. You have Schwellenbach, who's been a revelation for this team in that rotation. Um, and then Sean Murphy, hitting like he didn't miss the first 9 games of the season. So it was only a matter of time. And then, oh, by the by, Acuna's still not back.
Hmm.
So, like, this team still has, like, getting Acuna back in the middle of May is arguably way better than wait until the end of July to go get an additional piece. So this team has a long way to go. They have gone from last place to third place. They're still 6 games back of first, and they had a chance to get to 500 yesterday. They failed at it. They are now again 2 games below 500, but they started out 1-8, and they have been what 13 and 13-8 since that start. That's not a bad. That I'm not a mathologist, but that screams to me like 600 baseball right there. So this, I mean, this is a team that is still going. They're still pushing. Um, Manny, I want to hear from you. I can look at the numbers. I can sit there and study all day long. I can watch the game with my own eyes. But I want to hear from a Yankee fan.
Ah,
How special is Aaron Rodgers' start to this season? And how
Aaron Judge.
much how much can Juan Soto suck it that he's no longer there?
You know what? I do have to, and maybe I haven't taken an opportunity to really like self-reflect and be like, you know what, Woo-saw, the Yankees are the Yankees, they'll figure things out. I didn't give that opportunity because when Juan Soto left the Yankees for the fellow Mets, I was like, sucks. Like, how dare he? Like, whatever. Like the Yankees didn't bring enough pieces to really make up for it. They look pretty good. They look pretty damn good. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not. I'm not gonna say like they're gonna run away with the division because right now what? They're a game and a half above for the division lead. But I will have to say, if Aaron Judge continues batting the way that he has batted this year and he doesn't lose a step, the Yankees are going to look pretty damn good. They've had some mishaps, and as I haven't been watching like every game for the Yankees, but I've kept in touch with the highlights of their games. And every time that they lose a game, they've lost it in some crazy fashion. And it's not because of their batting. It's mostly because of their defense. And I'm not saying that's like back of the mind, like, oh, don't worry about the defense. It has to be addressed. But their batting has not been the problem this year. It just hasn't been a problem overall. I know we're officially in May, so it's there's still a long season to go. But Aaron Judge has better numbers now than he did when he won MVP 2 years ago, and he seems like he just is on a whole nother level that I just didn't think he had the capability of. And this isn't a diss on Aaron Judge's capabilities. I'm saying, oh, I didn't think you were that good. He was just already so good that I didn't think there was more to it. And yet here we are about Aaron Judge right now. I think as of yesterday, I haven't looked at the stats today. Technically, today, as of yesterday, he has like the triple crown as far for batting, which is impressive. Now, my thing is, and I don't know if this is as accurate in baseball, and maybe JB can talk me down a little bit or talk me up a little bit. I hope that they're just not peaking really early on, and then come July they kind of just downfall because it seems to me as a typical baseball fan, and I've acknowledged the fact that I don't really even follow in depth the baseball season really until like the 4th of July, right before the All Star break. I don't really dive too much into it until that point. But it seems to me like right now the Yankees are in a really good position. And I'm just hoping this isn't just as good as it gets. And then come July, August, when it really, the season really starts mattering a whole lot more, that they start falling off and that this was just an April spring peak and that it just gets crappier from there on. But I've loved what I've seen out of the Yankees. They have a one way or another for batters out of nowhere to be hitting bombs. I think what was it 2 days ago, 3 days ago, they had 4 home runs in the first inning, and it was just like one of those crazy things. And this is the second time they've done that. Like their batting, their offense is so good right now. Like I said, I'm having a little bit of a pause because their defense, whenever they're losing games, it seems like their defense is what's causing them to lose games. So I'm a little bit weary on that part, but I talked myself back into reality as far as sanity from the Juan Soto thing, and I'm like, okay, maybe the Yankees are actually gonna be okay.
Yeah, so uh, I don't think the Yankees are peaking because there's too much about the squad that isn't working right now. So uh, right now, your rotation is being held together by duct tape. Max Fried has been as advertised, bringing him in, especially with Cole out for the season,
Mm-hmm.
and Luis Hill still out. This it so it's and then you have Devin Williams, who seems to have developed a case of the yips at the closer position. Which fear not, you still have your shutdown closer from last year, Luke Weaver,
Mm-hmm.
still coming in and filling in the eighth inning for the Yankees, and soon enough it's going to be Aaron Boone that's going to say, okay, well until further notice, Weaver, you are our closer again. Devin, you're coming in the seventh inning, not the eighth. You're coming in the seventh inning. Fernando Cruz has been good. I don't know how long Trent Grisham is going to produce at the level he's going to produce. Hell, I don't know how long Aaron Judge is going to produce at the level he's producing.
That's
But
what I'm saying.
but right now, what should give Yankee fans some uh, some food for some food for comfort thought is is the fact that the Yankees are right now tied in first place with the highest run differential in baseball. The Mets and my Cubbies and the Yankees are all tied at plus 52. That's a good
Mm-hmm.
thing
Mm-hmm.
coming into the month of May. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to discount winning close to 20 games through the first month of the season. So you got 18, 19 wins at the end of April. That's pretty damn good. And so being able to have that and have that with the rotation, like I said, defense was always going to be a liability because it's an Aaron Boone coach team. I don't think they show up for spring training. I think the Rays showed up at Steinbrenner Field and said, "Oh, this is our home now. Can you guys go find a rail yard and go practice?" So it's like a scene from the Rookie out there. They got outfielders just on a pile of gravel. So, but it's but having Max Fried there, having the pieces in your bullpen that you have is a good thing. Um, I don't see Brian Cashman being the Brian Cashman of old. You just re-signed Aaron Boone to an inexplicable extension. I don't know why you did that, but you did. Apparently, there's no one that can do a better job than Aaron Boone. Okay. I'm sorry, I forgot Joe Madden was a person. So um, they have the resources to be able to go bring guys in. Now it is May, not going to happen until probably late June, early July at the earliest, probably. But if they can continue on this pace, if Aaron Judge could continue, because I can tell you what, Juan Soto may have lost out on the gravy train that he called Aaron Judge. But who's eating right now? Ben Rice. Ben Rice is eating a bunch of Uncle Ben's rice, and he is just shoveling it in by the mouthful. And he is absolutely enjoying his time. I know they got some people out there saying sell on Ben Rice now. No, do not. Ben Rice has been full of this potential for the last 2-3 years. We've heard nothing about his prolific power, and now he's got that change to his swing. His mechanics are changed at the plate, and now he is hitting behind one of the greatest hitters of our generation. So let the man cook, let him eat, and put him on, make him the face of a new rice line because he is absolutely just eating it. And so as long as the Yankees can continue to find ways to win. Now the one thing I haven't looked at is I haven't looked at their schedule. Um, I don't know exactly who it is that they've played so far. I don't know what their strength schedule is. Let me look at who they played in April. Okay. Um. Okay. The Brewers, good win, good series. That was a sweep. That was a good sweep. Now that the Brewers are heating up, they lost the series to Arizona. So did 80% of the league. Um, Won the series against the Pirates, lost the series to the Tigers, understandably so, because yours truly called the Tigers to win the AL Central. It makes sense.
Yes.
Um, Lost the series to the Giants, another powerhouse. Swept the Royals. Royals are good now. They were terrible at the beginning of the season. Split with the Rays. The Indians can't beat anybody. That's not less than decent. But they beat the Yankees. I don't know what that says. And then they lost the series to Baltimore, which is just inexcusable.
Yeah.
So they haven't had the toughest schedule yet, but uh, the weird thing is they're beating teams they shouldn't be beating, and they're losing to teams they shouldn't be losing to. That right there would give me some sort of reservation because you're looking at a team of extreme tendencies,
Mm-hmm.
playing up to opponents and then playing down to opponents.
Yep.
You want a team that's going to play up no matter what, and
Yep.
so. But
Going into the second leg of the three-legged baseball season, I would say maybe the Yankees want to hope that they get like a lower, they start settling into like a lower seed in the rankings and maybe a wild card because that means that they might play up to their opponents and start pulling off some upsets.
yeah, so but hey, if I'm a Yankee fan, be happy, be happy about it. So
My closing remarks on baseball. The one team that we were super high on, and JB and I once again will agree on, is the Dodgers. And I expected more out of the Dodgers, and yet it seems to me what was supposed to be their marquee lineup was supposed to be their pitching, and their pitching is going downhill. They've lost some games in very weird fashion. Their pitching seems to be a little off, and a lot of their pitching rotation is starting to get hurt. I'm not too sure that the injury plague is starting to hit the Dodgers or what, but it just seems like those Dodgers are starting to come back to reality, and maybe the overbuying, the big market buying of big players is not going to work out as well as they expected it to be, because right now I expected them to have a bigger lead in that division. And maybe that's more kudos to the Padres that are only a game and a half behind them. But at the end of the day, we both sat here and said the Dodgers were pretty dangerous, and they looked like they're going to be a dominant team going into like really the entire season going into September. And right now, they're not doing that. They're really
Yeah.
not doing anything special. They've lost some crazy games, like I said, and having a game and a half, or yeah, a game and a half lead on that division just doesn't seem like it should be. It is where it should be going into
Yeah.
May or going into the summer.
Yeah. I think what hurt them is so they've been um, they've been really good at home, and uh, but they have what was it? What is it here? Let me see. Well, I just saw a stat here. Um, Maybe they haven't counted that one yet. But they
They're 15-3 at home, and they're 6-7 away. So yeah, they're definitely holding it down at the home side, and they don't seem to be traveling well. Which maybe it's more of a traveling factor. Maybe they'll figure that
yeah.
out. But 6-7 away for as dominant as an overpowered quote unquote super team that they should be having, they should be
Hmm.
able to travel well and hold it down no matter if they're home or away.
Yeah, but when you get swept by the Marlins
Yeah.
and you lose two, no, they didn't get swept. They swept the Marlins. I'm sorry. Who was it? They got. Oh, that's right. They got swept by the Cubs. No, it was.
Oh, how
No,
could we
it, I.
forget?
What's what's interesting about the Dodgers is yes, they are great at home, but away from Chavez Ravine, they have yet to figure out how to play. And
Hmm.
so, Chavez Ravine is a special place. It's really only for Dodger fans because no one else is going to go there because they're going to die. But just watching this team away from home, I think is going to be key moving forward. I don't think that they're going to have much of an issue figuring it out. Um,
I don't know.
uh,
Their pitching seems like a concern.
Their
I
pitching's
will say
always
that.
a concern, and this is
Uh,
why they load
But
up on
that
pitching
was
so much.
supposed to be
You
like
lost
what they
Glass now.
resolved.
Trinan and Kopech are
Yeah,
both on the 60-day IL now. Like
yeah.
this is not abnormal for Dodger
No,
fans.
it's not. But that was supposed to be their strong suit this year because they addressed it in a very aggressive manner, and it's all crumbling below them. So
Yeah,
that is a concern to me because if you that was the emphasis of your off season and it's still crumbling underneath your feet. Are we really confident that you're going to be able to hold it down until your starting rotation really gets healthy again? The Padres aren't any a team like a scrub team. They are very good right now. They're looking like they're going to give them a run for the division again. Are you going to be able to keep that lead in place until
yeah.
your pitchers get healthy?
I don't know. Time will tell. But
Yep.
before we end the episode, who wins more games this season? The Rockies or the White Sox?
Oh,
Now the White Sox have twice as many wins as the Rockies do. They have 8. Which again, I'm not a mathologist, but that would mean the Rockies have 4. So,
yeah.
who? And let me ask you this question: is it possible that we have 2 seasons in a row where we have 2 separate baseball teams break the all-time single-season losing record? Is that possible? Is
It is
Colorado on the way to do this?
it is very possible, and to answer your question, I feel like the Rockies are in a very cushy position to break the record for most losses. Not the White Sox are the White Sox. They don't ever really put effort until probably I'm 60. They'll start putting in effort. But the White Sox have a more competitive division compared to the Rockies in their NL West division. They're not going to win many series when it comes to the division series. They
Yeah,
have the Dodgers, the Padres, the Giants, the Diamondbacks. All those teams are going to start figuring it out. Rockies aren't figuring out squat. I
yeah.
would, I would put money on the fact that the Rockies are going to blow away the most losses record by a big margin.
What would you give greater odds to? The Yankees winning the World Series or the Rockies breaking the White Sox record of 121 losses?
Ah, that is a messed up position to
What would you
put
put
me in.
more money on?
I would put more money on the Yankees winning the World Series because you have to almost try to be really bad to break a losses record. And the White Sox did a very good job at that last year. They reset the mark. It seems like
Yeah.
you really have to be like triple A, double A standard players to break that record. But that's pretty messed up to put me in that position because I'm not too sold on the Yankees winning the World Series, but man, that's a lot of losses to take on by the Rockies. That's a big number.
All right, Manny. Well, we are done. Guys, you can catch us live on YouTube every Thursday night. And the video episodes and audio on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Amazon at Box Scores and Bourbon. Additional content on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at BSB Sports 24. Manny, what were you drinking today?
I brought back an oldie but not so goodie Omega Brandy just to finish off the bottle. It is growing on me a little bit, but at this point, I've learned my lesson when it comes to brandies. JB, I should listen to our podcast's name, which is Box Scores and Bourbon, and
Mm-hmm.
brandy does not fit in that name. So I'm finishing this bottle. It's all right, but I'm not gonna try that crap again.
Well, it
J-
probably felt right when you were putting your Spanx on today. This is what I was drinking. I was drinking a Scotch. Hura. It's actually it's not peaty at all. Excuse me, I got to sneeze. Okay, it's not peaty at all, which
mhm.
is a downturn for me. I love
Mhm.
peaty,
Yep.
but it's a decent Scotch. It's not harsh, and but it's a real easy drink. And I was smoking a Liga Privada T52 during this episode.
Nice. That's been your go-to for cigars, Liga Privada. I feel like you had a lot of those going
I like
around.
anything made by Drew Estates, and
Mhm.
Drew Estates makes the Liga, so
Yep.
I I naturally am drawn to uh, the Liga brand. Yeah, so
Fair
yeah.
enough. Well, happy Friday, everyone. Thanks for jumping in. Thanks for listening to us. As JB said, where you can find us, we're on every social media platform. JB has been having a great time on the X, calling out people, having some controversial takes and not so controversial adding and mentions. Contribute to us. Continue following us, add to our comments in TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, X, Spotify, all the ways that you can think of to contribute to a conversation. We are there and you can find us. And until then, check us out again next Thursday, same time, same place. Cheers, everyone.
Stay thirsty.